Well, the heading on the thumbnail was only to draw your attention. And now that you're here, please listen me out. The very fact that you're watching this video reveals that you want a lot of grafts. Small number of grafts, 3,500, 2,500, 3,000 do not satisfy you. If that is the case, you need to watch this video. And I'll also show you a patient in which, in grade 5, we were able to give lush density, made the patient happy with merely under 3,500 grafts. If grafts properly utilized, if grafts are strategically placed, it can give you a head full of hair. At the same time, take care of your future objectives as and when baldness progresses, because baldness is not cured by hair transplant. Baldness will continue for life. So this is what you miss when you go in for astronomical numbers of grafts. It is very commonplace today on social media and elsewhere on websites and on advertisement to boast 8,800 grafts, 9,920 grafts, 16,540 grafts, and some even more. Well, hair transplant is not fairyland. Hair transplant is to be done with your own donor area, which is not limitless. The confines of your safe zone are defined. The number of grafts that we can harvest in a lifetime are predefined. However, there are clinics which are doing 16,000, 17,000, 18,000 grafts in 2 or 3 sessions. But is this in the interest of the patient? Giving a patient 16,000 grafts in a span of 1 to 1.5 years will give you a very lush growth, of course. But it does gross injustice to your future goals and your future objectives as your baldness progresses further. With 16,000 grafts harvested, I am sure very few grafts are left for the eventuality of progressive baldness, which happens in the vast majority of patients who are balding and who reach a hair transplant clinic. There is another category of clinics in which, though they will discuss grafts with you, but actually what they're planting is number of hair. They're charging you for what you think are grafts, but actually you're paying for the number of hair. Well, this is a factor of 2.5. If a clinic gives you 3,500 grafts and you multiply it by 2.5, it gives you the number of hair, which is 8,750. And psychologically, we are more inclined to go to a clinic which is offering you 8,750 units than to a clinic which is offering you a mere number of 3,500 grafts. Well, that is human psychology. Psychologically, you think that you will have much more lush growth and that the cost factor is less because the doctor is charging you the same rate for these 8,750 units than the other doctor across the street who's charging you the same amount for 3,500 units. And you do not know the difference between grafts and follicles. So the aim of such lectures is to make you aware so that you do your research properly and that you know how much grafts can cover what area. You can see my videos that with minimal number of grafts, we can cover large areas provided the survival rate of the grafts is good. DHT blockers are taken in the first 6 months of hair growth. And thirdly, strategic placement of grafts has been done to give you a lush look in spite of lesser numbers. Now you will ask me, why put less numbers? Why not put large numbers? Doctor, why are you putting 3,500 when I am telling you that you can put 8,000, 10,000 grafts? Well, that is to take care of your future needs. A person coming to me at 25 years of age or even 30 years of age will require 2 to 3 procedures in his lifetime. And if that be so, when the future balding area has not yet been defined, and when your future balding cannot be predicted by the best of crystal ball gazers, how am I going to estimate your future requirements? When you're quoted less grafts, that is taking your interests, your best interests in mind and planning accordingly. A hair transplant is not a mere visit to a salon. A hair transplant is a long drawn out, well-planned strategy spreading over 10, 15, 20 years to maintain a lush mop on your head without running short of grafts. And there's a third category of clinics which merely do cheating. Usually these are not doctor-run clinics. If there's a doctor there, he's working in a franchise clinic. So these clinics are merely doing cheating in grafts, and that's not what we are talking about. We are just talking about ethical hair transplants, presuming that a clinic is doing ethical work. In this young Caucasian male, who is the case study for the day, and whose case we are going to review right now, came to us with grade 5 level of baldness. And for him, because his donor area was just average, we did 3,250 scalp grafts to cover the hairline, the temple points, the mid-scalp, the vertex crown. The second time he came to us after about 4 or 5 years for a little touch-up because of progressive baldness. We took his pictures, which are as follows. So you can see that with strategic placement, with minimum number of grafts, taking maximum advantage of optimal grafts that can be harvested from the scalp at one time without over-harvesting the scalp donor and keeping the patient's future needs in mind, we were able to achieve a head full of hair look. The patient is very happy. That's why he returned to us for a subsequent touch-up procedure. Now, when you get a large number of grafts, this patient himself could have benefited by 5,500 grafts. But if we had done 5,500 grafts at one time, we would not have known how his baldness is going to progress in future. He's a young man, as you can see, and when his baldness progresses, and we have stuffed those extra number of grafts, say 4,500, 5,500, in a limited area which would have sufficed for the time being with 3,500 grafts, we are doing gross disservice, and it is not ethical enough to do this, and we don't need to do it because this patient has a whole life ahead of him and he's going to continue to bald. So the interests of the patient, long-term goals of the patient are of paramount importance and should be kept in mind while planning the case. It's all about planning a hair transplant. It's not like one event that a patient comes to you and you're treating him and that's all. Well, if that is the strategy of a clinic, then it's a good strategy for them, might be working well for them. But if you have to build trust in the patient, you have to keep the future in mind when planning. And a patient who is well researched is smart enough to know that. So this strategic placement of grafts is only possible in my technique, which is anagen Q+ technique, in which we harvest only anagen hair. So if you are playing with less numbers, you have to make sure that you are only planting anagen hair and nothing but anagen hair. Secondly, strategic placement. The art and science of strategic placement works only when all the grafts are out at one time. You have sorted the grafts out, grouped them into singles, doubles, triples, and more. And then you plan your strategy of where to put how many graft units, of where to put singles along the hairline, where to put doubles and triples to enhance the result, so that with less number of grafts, taking the patient's long-term goals in perspective, you plan the placement. This strategic placement is not possible with DHI or any of its direct hair transplant variants. You can use your common sense and you will arrive at an answer for yourself. Watch videos, use your common sense, and you will come to know that strategic placement of grafts is not possible with DHI or its other direct hair transplant variants. Well, that is the message for the day, and I hope you're doing well during this pandemic, and I look forward to meeting you again in my next video. Thank you for watching.